Greetings, everyone. I'm Jeff Loeb, CMO and growth strategist at Chief Outsiders. Today, we're talking about how to win more and larger deals with account-based marketing and sales. I'm thrilled to have as my guest today, Gary Survis, operating partner at Insight Partners, a leading global venture capital and private equity firm, and a senior fellow at the Wharton School. Gary leads Insight Partners' Marketing Center of Excellence, where he helps portfolio companies implement marketing best practices. So welcome, Gary.
How are you doing, Jeff? Good to see you today.
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining. So let's jump right in. We got some great stuff to talk about. So first, why does an account-based approach matter? And what's wrong with the term ABM?
So I'm going to start with the second part of your question, which is what's wrong with the term ABM? And I think that the most important issue is having target accounts is not a new strategy. We've had target accounts for such a long period of time, and organizations have said, let's get a list together and let's get the selling organization out there, and we'll have our inside selling team, call on those accounts, and marketing will send emails to them, and we'll really that's not account-based. And that is, in the end, just target account marketing. What makes account-based special is the end-to-end approach to it, that it's going to have marketing, it's going to have sales, both inside as well as your field sales organization, and ultimately your customer success organization to be able to expand as well. And I think that, account-based, by saying account-based marketing, is really cutting down what the capabilities could be for your organizations and the opportunities in front of you. Because what makes account-based special is one word: orchestration. And if you orchestrate the way marketing decides to connect with an organization and how the selling organization connects and ultimately the customer success organization, you move to a new environment. You move to an environment where it's not this sort of handoff between marketing and sales, but it's much more like an integrated game where, like soccer, where the ball is moving back and forth between marketing and sales, but in an orchestrated way. And that's what drives the true impact of account-based.
That's really interesting. So let's drill a little deeper into that. What would you say are the main elements of an account-based approach?
So one of the things that we've learned about account-based is there are 5 key pieces in the process, but don't look at it as a step-by-step linear kind of process. This is very much an iterative process, because at every stage of it, you're gathering information which ultimately you can use to power your processes going forward. And so, I have a saying that is, Salesforce is where all good information goes to die. And if you capture something in the process and don't know how to ultimately harvest it, you're going to miss out. So let's start. Job number 1 is selecting the accounts. This is, I will say, the most important part, because ultimately, if you don't pick the right accounts, then the whole process falls apart. And just picking your, top 50 accounts because I think they're the biggest organizations, or, they represent the most opportunity, is a mistake. The idea here is to focus on your ideal customer profile. And that's not just the size of the organization. You will have elements in there that includes behavior, that includes firmographic, that includes trigger events, that you understand truly what makes a great customer for you. And if you're leveraging some of the intent technology, you'll also know who is in market for you as well to select the accounts. So huge difference, just worth noting. An ideal customer profile target list is static. An in-market ideal customer profile list is dynamic, because people are coming in and out of interest for your product. The next thing is discovering insights. And this is really important for you, because you're going to need to understand more account details. You're going to need to understand the buying team dynamics. You may need to find out what are the key words that ultimately drive the journey here for these folks. And this is what's going to power your personalized engagement no matter how you attack the account. Next step is define and create. Now, in define and create, you're going to really figure out what are the elements that you're going to leverage, the tactics that you're going to drive, the content that you're going to create, the kind of interactions, and the activities that you're ultimately trying to put together here that is going to really drive relevant and valuable engagement. Next is collaborate and activate. This is where we bring the whole team together, because without that collaboration, ABX doesn't exist in the way that we really hope, because without everyone knowing their role, it's like a bad play where someone enters in at the wrong time and the whole scene is ruined. You need to know when to leverage the right tactics at the right time. And ultimately, our goal here is to surround the account. So you'll have different tactics that may be lower in the group and for your bottoms up strategy, and different tactics for the top of the organization, which is going to be your top down strategy. And figuring out how to collaborate with all the players is key. Last, and certainly not least, is track and measure, because if you don't set up the right kind of objectives, you don't have the systems in place to track all of your account activity and ultimately understand what your KPIs here are that are necessary to drive ROI, this whole process will seem less than real to your CEO, for your board, etc. And I point this out all the time, that KPIs are different than metrics. These are your key performance indicators that are going to tell you that your program is working. And by the way, they're going to be different for account-based. And ultimately as well, the thing that you should know is many of your systems aren't already set up to report out on an account level. They're set up to report out on a lead level. And so you're going to need to make some system changes in order to be able to do this correctly.
So account-based go-to-market isn't one size fits all. From your experience, what are the different approaches?
So one of the things that people often mention when you mention account-based is like, I can't do one-to-one marketing. I don't have the resources or the content to do that. And that's a mistake, because account-based does not have to be one-to-one marketing. It can be more personalized. But there are lots of different ways to attack account-based, different approaches that we would see. So the first approach we like to look at is segmented. So a segmented approach is really looking at a large number of accounts. And this is going to be a vertical, it could be the education space, and it's large clusters of accounts with shared attributes. And ultimately, you're going to have a good level of coordination between your marketing team and your inside selling team. And you're going to leverage technology primarily to scale. When you move to another level, what we call cohorted view, you'll take that segment and you will create a smaller group of accounts that act as a cohort. And this kind of group needs a higher level of research and customization. You may have customized campaigns, customized content, and things of that nature that are really going to drive those accounts. And ultimately, you're going to need more of end-to-end coordination, because you really want to avoid what I call account-based whiplash, where you have a really strong marketing thrust and you give them a very customized experience. And then when they get to, say, your inside selling team, they get on the phone and say, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about your business? You should, at that point, already know that. And so that level of coordination goes up as you become cohorted. And you're going to need a lot more technology to do this well, to deliver the right content at the right time, the right advertising. All of that will increase in complexity. The last level is personalized. And again, this is super deep research, one-to-one market, fully customized messaging, content, campaigns. And you're really trying to, leverage strong alignment between all the people that touch at the account. This is super resource intensive. And so, and many organizations, quite honestly, can only afford to do this with a smaller group. But what I would tell you is it's not one approach or the other. It is trying to figure out how you blend them all together. And with the resources and knowledge of your organization. As the people in your organization get better at driving account-based campaigns, they'll be able to handle the complexity of cohorted and personalized. And I would also say, ultimately, that when an organization makes a choice to take an account-based play, it really will take time for them to really move through the entire continuum of all this. And they should take their time, iterate, and make a better product, and ultimately as they reach out to the different prospects and customers.
So that's really interesting, Gary. And just a little follow-up question to that. So as you think about those three approaches that you just mentioned, did I hear you right that you can live in multiple worlds at one time? You don't have to choose one and go all in to that one approach?
Absolutely correct. I think, Jeff, importantly for most organizations, that it may be easier initially to start with segmented just because they have content off the shelf that may be talking to a segment. They already have personalized landing pages and they can create it easier. But the way I view it is that all accounts aren't equal. When you look at the CLTV of a given account, you should really look to say, if this account is worth more, then it is worth me spending more money in terms of what I might be able to give as a gift, in terms of the amount of resources I put at it, because the lifetime value of that customer, that account, is so great, it demands me putting more resources. Not every account should be treated the same because they're not the same value.
Excellent. So that leads to my next question, which is around getting started. And what does a crawl, walk, run approach to account-based look like? And where is the best place to start?
So I think a lot of times you need to begin with a premise that account-based is not going to solve world hunger here. It is a part of a strategy for your organization, but it's like any strategy. You can't just flip a switch and go from 0 to 100 miles per hour. And so, we recommend very much that the first place to start is with a pilot, and to choose a small number of accounts, have a control group that you're comparing against, and truly get to understand what works. And maybe just begin with a group in a segment that you're going for. And I would also mention this, which is going to sound obvious, but I want to say, when you're doing the pilot, is not the time for you to choose a really difficult market that you really don't do well at today. Let's see if we can get in there with some account-based. Let's start instead with success. Let's build on success. Let's choose an area where we know we can do better, but that we do have success, and build from there. So first, start with a pilot. As you start in the walk phase, what you're going to find is you may bring in an additional approach. You may move from segmented to cohorted, and you may begin to kind of learn that you need to further segment the segment into smaller groups so you can deliver more personalized message. And that is that iteration process I mentioned. And then ultimately, as you sort of get to the run, it's really leveraging all the different pieces here, the segmented, cohorted, personalized, knowing who fits where and how to do that. And I'm going to repeat myself, but make this clear. This is not a marketing strategy. This is an organization-wide go-to-market strategy. And the entire organization needs to do this. And you need to do it in a way that brings everyone along, that drives alignment, and ultimately drives results.
Gary, so thank you very much. You really have a unique and invaluable perspective on this topic. So we appreciate you sharing that with us today.
It was great, Jeff. Thanks for having me.